It's a different time than it ever has been before. Having trouble finding what you need? Not sure what to do? Well, join us today as we discover how to raid the freezer and pantry with ResqmanBBQ.
I'm Dan Caskey, ResqmanBBQ, a local pit master here in Summerville, South Carolina. Love teaching classes and do in-person classes, as well as being an expert and working with the Coastal Covered and teaching classes for the Big Green Egg. I'm a grilling enthusiast and have traveled the country as a pit master and ran grand champions and awards up and down the East Coast. I'm also a medical professional. I've been a PA, and now I focus on nutrition. And so my love of science, my love of health, has got me here cooking today, and I'm looking forward to sharing a few things with you that I've learned about how to cook good, healthy food, have fun, and we're going to figure out what to do here in this weird time that we're having. Times are a little tight. Maybe you've gone to the grocery store and what you were looking for wasn't there. So what we're going to do today is we're going to jump in and we're going to tackle what I call the freezer raid. All right, let's raid the freezer. Here we go. Oh, look at that. So pretty. Now, this may or may not have been staged. All right, so we've got some Swai fillets, Swai fillets, something like that. I know a lot about it. I just don't know how to say it. You're going to really enjoy that. So we're going to use those fillets. I like this large cuts here. I'm going to tell you about a trick that we can do with roasting those in a unique way. Mixed vegetables. This is perfect. There's no sauce on it, so that's what we're looking for. This potato and veggie blend would be good, but rosemary garlic. So if I was going to have a rosemary garlic on the fish, then I would go with that, but we're not doing that today because I don't have any rosemary. I like this antioxidant blend as well here in the back. Broccoli, carrots, sweet bell peppers. That'd be good. Garlic, olive oil sauce. We could probably work with that with our lemon garlic profile, but I think we're going to do mixed veggies with this fish, and we're going to raid the pantry for a good side. I've got a few tips for you when we do this. A lot of people will go to the store, and if they run out of stuff, then they'll come home and they'll put together what they have. I say do it the opposite way. I say we start by raiding the freezer, seeing what you have there, making a stop in your pantry to see what you could connect it with, and then a trip to the store to get some fresh things to pop. Ideally, you'd grab some protein out of the freezer, some veggies as some sides, maybe from that freezer, or we can go in the pantry and get a starch or a side. Then we can go to the grocery store and grab a pop of freshness, like some fresh herbs, some fresh veggies, or whatever they may have if the typical protein you're looking for isn't there. All right, guys, so we raided the freezer. We found a good protein, and we got some veggies. We're going to throw that together with a side in a bag that we found in the pantry, and we ran over to our grocery store and we picked up a little freshness that we're going to make it pop with. Now, my trip wouldn't have been complete without stopping by one of my friends over at Wide Awake Brewery. We picked up a couple of nice compliments to our dish today, so we'll be talking about that as well. All right, let's talk about the protein. This is Swai or Swai fish, which is essentially a flaky white fish. Like many others, it's in the catfish family. Actually, this is a Vietnamese catfish is the best way to think about it. It comes in these nice boneless, skinless fillets. I happened to get this when it was on sale at Publix. We throw it in the freezer for when we need it, and so this is a great time that we're going to break it out. So I went ahead and took 2 fillets and thawed them out. They are pre-packaged and sealed, so that makes it pretty easy. You can just on the counter for a few minutes while you're prepping. Even if they're partially frozen, they're still cooked pretty quick at the temperature we're going to be doing. But a quick trip in the fridge, if you know you're cooking that night, would be an easy way to thaw this out, keep it nice and food safe. Frozen seafood is a great thing to be cooking with. One of the reasons I like using a fish like this, it's like catfish. It's got a sweet, mild taste, and it is marbled with a little bit of fat. You can see that here. It's boneless, and so that's going to give us a good flavor and do really well when we cook it. sale, it's usually pretty cheap. A 3.5 ounce portion of this is also pretty healthy. We can get around about 90 calories with 4.5 grams of fat in that one serving. And it's going to come with some omega-3s in it. Now, a lot of people ask me, is wild-caught fish better than farm-raised fish? And the answer, I'll tell you, I think is no. Farm-raised has stricter regulations regarding the water content. We hear about PCBs, that's a big word, but PCBs are the toxins that end up in the water, and they could be there in wild-caught fish if you don't know about it. So I think farm-raised is just as good, if not in some cases better, given the recent economy.
All right, so we got inside, we got these mixed vegetables. We don't really want to thaw them out, but we're going to get them open here. Let's see how long they truly have been in there. All right, not too bad, but I do have some ice on them, and I want to just get that off. So I'm just going to give them a rinse here. Basically getting that extra water crystals out of there, breaking that up. If they're really freezer buoyant, you're going to have a burnt, you're going to have a ton of water, but that doesn't look too bad. Okay, that's it. That's all we're going to do.
Okay, as I said, it's simple to prep. We're going to go ahead and open it up, rinse it off, pat it dry, and you'll have a great fish ready to serve. Now, this does do well if you want to marinate it to add some flavor. That would be a great idea to do as well. All right, so nice, good fillet here. Fleshy and pretty solid, so we're happy about that. It's going to do great cooking. Compound butter would be good on this to throw in our cooking method, but we want to match our flavor. So this is an open canvas right now. As we looked at when we were looking at our vegetable freezer selection, if you have something that has a sauce in it that you can replicate, duplicate, add on to, like rosemary and garlic was one of our options, but since we didn't find any rosemary or have any on hand, we didn't want to do that and divert. So I recommend pairing those flavors across the standard there, and so we're gonna design this the way we want. When we season this meal up, we want it balanced. Sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami. Those are the flavors that are gonna come in there. So we're gonna use some salts, some herbs, we're gonna use a little lemon, lime actually in this case, as I said, some natural herbs, some salt, some fat, that's gonna give it that sweetness in there. And if you like a little spice, I recommend maybe some pepper flakes would do good in here to kind of pipe up that flavor. So now we gotta talk about, we know what we have. I've got our veggies here. I've got the fish. How are we going to cook this? Well, I don't know if you were a Boy Scout growing up, but I certainly was, and we used to go and do foil packs. And we could put all kinds of meat and stuff in there, wrap it up, throw it in the fire, and open it up, and you had your own little packet. It was really fun to do. I've loved cooking fish this way. A great foil pack is fun. You can start with the protein. Again, add the veggies in any servings. We like to put potatoes in there. Sometimes whole vegetables and things like that are a lot of fun to roast inside a foil pack. So we want to wrap this thing up and use it well. Get it on and off a grill or an oven rack. And we need to know what to do. For this scenario, we're going to suggest that we don't have aluminum foil. We haven't quite run out of that, but maybe you don't want to lose aluminum because you're concerned about some health effects it might have, or maybe you're looking for another method. There's some plus and minuses to even wax paper and parchment paper. So let's break down the difference between the three. First off, I'll start with wax paper. Now, wax paper is simply paper covered in, well, you guessed it, wax. It's designed for cold applications. It's great for putting things that may stick together. You throw some wax paper down, throw it in the freezer in a bag, and they won't stick together. It does actually well with chocolates when you're making them, because the chocolate doesn't stick to the wax. That's a great application of it. But if I were to put this wax paper in a heat source like an oven, something like that, the wax would melt, giving a funny taste to your food. So if you like to eat candles and crayons, I suppose, you could add it in there. It's technically food safe, but at the same time probably won't add you a lot of flavor. So wax paper, cold applications. It's great for folding up sandwiches. Maybe you're running out of zip bags or you're in a country where it's outlawed. I was in Kenya recently and they're not allowed to have plastic bags, so wax paper would do great there. The next one we're going to talk about is aluminum foil. It's a little bit more robust. As you probably know, you can form it, shape it. It tends to hold its shape, so it won't conform or contract, expand or contract rather. And that may be a good thing, but maybe not what you're looking for. It is a bit more durable than the paper. So on an application like a barbecue grill hill where you're coming on and off, moving things around in just the packet, it might be a good idea to use something more sturdy like aluminum foil. Parchment here, which is what we're going to demonstrate today. Parchment paper is a lot of fun. Essentially, it's paper treated with acid to resist high temperatures. It also becomes non-stick of the paper. Aluminum foil tends to be a little bit more intense when cooking. So the difference, if I'm wrapping something in the parchment paper, that's going to just protect it from the heat and hold moisture in, especially if we seal it tight. Whereas the aluminum foil actually would radiate some heat to it. Now, if you want to get into the shiny side versus the flat side of aluminum foil, we can get into that debate, but they're all the same. All right, as I said, today I'm going to use parchment paper, and so we're going to get a couple pieces of parchment out and to throw these food packets together. For this, I like to go ahead and fold it in half. Okay, and now to make it fold cleanly, we're going to cut some of these corners off. All right, so what I like to do with this All right, so a little bit longer on the bottom than it is on the top here, and that's going to give us our nice platform here. All right, the first thing we're going to do with our paper is we're going to treat it with a little oil here. Some people do both sides to help it move. Fold it back on itself. Just a little olive oil spray. A little olive oil spray. Get some gloves here. All right, I'm going to put the fish on here. All right. We're going to put some our veggies. We're going to roast with it in here. Okay. As I said, you know, finding some seasonings that you want to kind of build the profile. So we want sweet, sour, salty. So this is a rub that I have, a sweet basil rub that I like to use. That's going to get a bunch of pop in there. It's got that garlic, that herb. I am going to put some powdered garlic on here. Okay. Do want to put some salt in here. Good, as I said, crushed red pepper if you like a little spice, which we do. All right. Now for fat inside here, we're going to use a little, we've got some coconut oil. We like cooking with that. It gives us good flavor, good health alternative, healthy fats. A lot of brain science behind coconut oil as well. All right. I did grab some herbs, as I said, so we're going to use some thyme in here. Put a good amount in there, but I want to leave it so I can get to it. I love gadgets, and I hope you do. As I said, we want to use a citrus in here, and so this is a nice lime squeezer. First thing we're going to do is going to cut this bad boy in half here. All right, we had a bunch of lives. It is, you know, coronavirus season, and we may or may not have celebrated a little bit that way. But we had a bunch of limes. They were on sale. So for those, just to make sure you know, a lot of people put it in this way, and this is where it's supposed to drain out. So the idea thing is for it to turn inside out on itself. We won't need the whole thing, but that's how you put it in there. All right. That looks great. Awesome. We'll need that lime juice in a few minutes. All right. Now, if I had the roasted potatoes, as I said, I would put those in here. We're going to hold off on that. And what we grabbed from the pantry was this quinoa brown rice mix. So we're going to fix that up for the end here. All right, so now the fun part. I'm left-handed, so we're going to go like this. Now we got to get this thing ready to seal up. And so what we're going to do is make sure the fish stays flat. Bring end over end there. You see that pretty good? All right, and then what we're just going to do is we're just going to roll this nice and tight. I'm going to start here and crease it. Crease it. Fold and crease. Okay. Fold down and crease. Fold down and crease. Now you need this tail on the end so that you can get it sealed up. Fold down and crease. I was taught to use a lot smaller creases than I'm doing right now, but I think it works out okay. All right, and then we're going to fold that. Can you see this? So we got the crease there, and this last little tail I get to fold underneath. All righty. So there we've got our pack. Now that's going to hold the steam and moisture in there as we get it cooking. So let's talk about what we're going to do next. All right, let's talk about these veggies. Now, we had a couple of options when we started. We had the mixed bags, the different flavors. We went ahead and chose the unseasoned version, and we've got them in here. If I just wanted to cook this protein off and have maybe pasta with it, one fun tip I like to do with the frozen veggies is throw them in the pasta water in the last minute or so of cooking. It brings them, thaws them out, and gets them ready to go quickly. Now, another tip I have for you, I mentioned those broccoli florets that we saw in the freezer. Wash those suckers off, and if you have an air fryer, I love air frying broccoli. Try it in there. It's roasted. It's amazing. If you have a little coconut oil, you could toss them in. That would be amazing as well. So those are some tips on how to handle veggies, maybe a little different than this. All right, making sure we cover the sides. Now, we talked about an option of putting potatoes in here. You certainly could just wrap a tater in foil and put it in your oven. That's a great way to do it. Most of you probably know you can microwave sweet potatoes pretty quickly in the microwave, and they also cook well in an oven or even on a grill. So those are some fun options. As I said, since this is freezer raid, pantry raid style, we had this quinoa available, so that's what we have today. So now let's talk about how we're going to cook this. Now, I'm a barbecue guy and I love to barbecue, so what we're going to do is we're going to head on over to our ceramic cooker. I've got it set up in indirect cooking. If you don't know what that means, let's do a class. We got set up for indirect cooking. We're about 375 degrees, and we're going to move this on to the cooker. All right. All right, guys, this is our indirect portion. As I said, we have it set up for about 375 degrees. We're going to put that on there, indirect. Okay, guys, I'm going to make up this other filet and this other pack, and why we do that, I want to talk about how we need to finish this. Of course, pairing is really important, and people like to enjoy a good beverage. I'm a fan of sour, so I've got a citrus sour here, but Eric and the guys over at Wide Awake Brewing, which is local here in Somerville, it's a great local brewery, they've got a few choices that would go great with fish. One of the choices is their golden ale. They have a wheat beer, as I'm told, would do well. We also chose an Illuminati, which we'll be trying to see how that pairs. It's a hazy IPA for those of you that are IPA fans with some citrus. And this is their American Citrus Sour. So a lot of options over there. If you haven't been to Wide Awake Brewing, you should go check it out. We love pairing it when we grill and having a great time. All right, another little gadget tip, guys. I'm gonna get cleaned up, got my gloves, which are thrown away. You may have noticed I'm on this stainless steel table, which is certainly easy to cook on, but for cleanup, this is a Stark board. This is basically a plastic disposable cutting board. They're great, very versatile. You can cut on them quite well. It's actually pretty thick. It's one of my favorite things to use when we're doing competitions or cooking outside, especially if we switch between clean and dirty, and chicken, protein, stuff like that. It's easier sometimes just to discard the cutting board, and keeps the surface nice and clean. Okay guys, just a couple other techniques and tips I want to share with you about making things happen. We're going to finish this fish with a white wine garlic butter sauce. I like to use tarragon with my fish, and we're going to talk about how we're going to do that today a little differently. Alright, so I'm going to go do this in the pan real quick, but I want to kind of walk you through what we're going to do. My friend Brandy, Bruce, wine shop at home, said, hey, I need to make sure I have a good wine for my fish, and she got me the Elegant Cellars 2018 Chardonnay. It looks great. It's nice dry. She's got the notes here. It's got a lot of lemon and citrus notes with a good toasted oak finish. I'm told anytime that touches the oak, it helps develop the tannins which are in there. So it's a really cool wine, not made with any junk, so it doesn't give you any headaches. This is lime. We didn't have lemons. I had this lemon juice, which is certainly an option, but you know, we're going to use the limes today, see what happens. So I've got that lime in there, as we saw. All right. So I'm gonna make a white wine. Well, let's taste it too here. I'm going to make a white wine garlic butter sauce. Now, normally I would take fresh garlic, mince it up, and use some fresh herbs in there. But again, we're talking about doing some things a little differently, some fun things I like to do. So I'd get a hot pan, put a little oil in the bottom, a little coconut oil to get it started, and then I'd go ahead and start to give my garlic a little freshness. Now this we found at Lidl's, ready to use minced garlic. All right, so we've got this garlic that we got at Lidl's. It's ready to go here. It's in water. Some of it comes in oil. We like to find it minced up in water. So not the freshest, but hey, we're talking about making alternatives. So we're gonna put that in a pan with some hot oil, start to brown it up. Now once it gets to where you like it, we wanna stop the cooking. We don't wanna overcook it. Now I know some people start with their butter, then add the garlic, but what I do is I brown that garlic, and then I'm going to stop the cooking. This is a half a cup of our wine and a half a cup of our lime juice. Well, I'd mix that in, then I'd add our herbs. You can certainly put thyme in it. Tarragon is what I like to have with fish. Now it has that licoricey taste. There's a lot of things you can substitute for it, but they're just not always the same, so some people say leave it out. I like tarragon. Now I'm a huge fan of anise, which is a good substitute, or fennel seeds. Fennel seeds are great, but they're very potent, so you want to use less unless you like that fennel bite. Probably wouldn't highlight this fish as well. Marjoram is one of the ones. I'm going to use a marjoram essential oil, and to kind of bring us back to lemon from the lime, some lemon essential oil. So let's go make up that white sauce, and we'll get out here and see what it looks like coming off the grill. All right, guys, it's been about 10 minutes. We're going to take a look here. It's looking good. We went ahead and made our second one up and going on there. I'm starting to hear kind of some sizzling, some bubbling. We're seeing this one puff up a little bit. Let's give it a few more minutes. That's a good one. That's a good wine. Listen, Brandy Wine Shop at Home, she actually delivered this to my door. You can be part of the wine club. You can have a wine tasting. She's got some great wines. Big tip that she gave me, you may already know this, that all wine should be stored above 40 and below 80. So something to keep that stable. Once it's been opened, it'll do well for cooking for quite some time if you don't drink it right away. We like to cork it. This should be chilled before serving. The dry notes in here, citrus, I think they're going to pay really well with the fish, so I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what it's like when we taste it. All right, so our first packet is done. We got about 5 more minutes on the other one, and we're going to go ahead and pull this off, open it up, and season it. See what she's doing. All right, guys. We've got our beautiful plate here. We just took some scissors, pulled it back, put our beautiful lemon butter sauce on there with our Chardonnay. Man, I can pick those notes up. So, real exciting. Look at that flaky white fish. Yeah, and that's great. That is so good. Listen, I hope you've enjoyed this. We're going to get inside and enjoy this meal with our family all by ourselves. But next time, hope we can gather for a party. Until we can cook together, I hope you'll join me online. We'll be going live next week to cook some brunch. If you can't make it live, perhaps you'll join us afterwards. But let's interact together as we cook, enjoy food. Hope these tips were helpful. If you want more tips, just reach out. Again, I'm Dan Caskey with ResqmanBBQ here in Somerville, South Carolina. Hope you're having a great day and enjoying yourselves. Thank you. Broccoli, rinse off that ice crystals, and throw those in the air fryer.